Hi, I'm Mike Sobush, and today we're going to do the history of the Maribel Caves Hotel. It's a very interesting building. It was a dream of Father Francis Steinbrecher. He was studying in Mirabel, Austria. He sent a pencil drawing of this hotel to his parents, who owned about 840 acres around this area, including the whole park and land across the road, and they had a stone quarry over there and a lumber mill. And his parents went to Mr. Kagan, who was an architect in Manitowoc. He did a lot of the famous old buildings like the courthouse in Manitowoc, Lincoln High School in Manitowoc, and he took the drawing of this building, made it into the hotel. Father Francis worked on getting funding for the hotel. He brought 3 masons from Austria, and they hired another mason contractor out of Kaukauna, and they had 27 masons working on the building. They started building in 1898 and finished the hotel in 1900 for a June opening in 1900. The south end of the building was the kitchen. Behind the tavern or bar room area was a cooler, and they had mechanical ram pumps down at the spring. This whole thing was made because of the spring water down below out of the spring cave. They had mechanical ram pumps that pumped water up from a spring house to a 5,000-gallon copper tank on the roof of the hotel. This was the first building in this area to have running water and flush toilets. You know, we didn't have Manitowoc cranes in those days or Grove cranes, so they used the jib pole. So they would turn around and they built wooden scaffolding all around the hotel, and they had this jib pole, and they would change the links, and on the top of the pole was a bearing, and you had a long arm going down where you had a bucket where you'd put rocks, and another long arm on the other side with ropes. And depending on how many rocks you put in there, it took that many people to pull other side up, and then it had a bearing, and they would swing over to the scaffolding and unload the stone to build the hotel. The stairway went right up the middle of the hotel, and from the entrance you can see where the steps went down to the bar and the steps went up. The south side was the dining room, and there's actually a stone fireplace still standing up, built into the stone walls. The other half of the building, on the north half, was the living quarters for the Steinbrecher or whoever was running the hotel. And then the whole third floor was hotel rooms. They weren't like the hotel rooms we know today. They were very small rooms. They had maybe a double bed and a dresser, a single bed and a dresser. They had one main bathroom up there, one for women and one for men. If you look at the building itself, how the stonework is, it's very rough looking. That's actually the way they're designed and built. They start from the outside walls, putting the stone down, and then they cement them. They put bigger flat stones, and then they cement them in. And it's made to look rough. The part of the back wall of the hotel that's still standing, that's got a smooth finish. That's because there was 2 large decks on the hotel, one on the second floor, one on the third floor. They opened it in 1900 as a health spa. They would take a stagecoach, have a team of horses. They had horses in the stagecoach in the barn, and they would go to Maribel to the train and pick up people. The wealthy people came here from all over the country, from New York, from Ohio, from Chicago, Milwaukee. They would travel by train and come here, spend 2 weeks at the health spa. And the water from the spring is high in magnesium, so if you drink gallons and gallons and gallons of it, it'll help clean out your system. The building right here was originally the bathhouse. There was stone baths, and you'd sit in there, and there was a hot bath. There was a 4-foot deep pool, and they had a pipe going all the way down. They drilled a pipe down through the rock into the spring You would sit in a hot bath, and then you'd get down and crawl down and get into the cool tub, and you would jump into this 42-degree pool of cold water. It's supposed to shock your system. They are still doing that in Europe today. They still do that. They take hot baths and then jump into cold water. They started bottling water here in 1907, and in 1909, the original bottling plant was just about where County Trunk R is now. It was this 2-story wood structure, and it had a boiler explosion. The building burned, so they converted the bathhouse into the bottling plant, and they bottled water here until about 1960. It was in glass returnable bottles called Maribel Mineral Springs water, and it was shipped all over the country. There's a lot of stories about Al Capone being here and things like that. Well, we know Al Capone was not here. The reason we know that is because we have writings that when Mr. John was here, he was a kind man to his employees, but he wanted the hotel run in a certain way. When Mr. Nelson was here, nobody liked him. He was a very mean man. And Mr. Nelson was Babyface Nelson, who was John Dillinger's henchman. John Dillinger was here. Capone would not have been here with John Dillinger because they were arch enemy. They were rival gang or groups out of Chicago. We have pictures during Prohibition in the late 1928, 29 of trucks filled with water sitting next to the building getting ready to head to Chicago for delivery. He's a farmer, local farmer, that has one of these Diamond T trucks in his barn. And if they had a local blacksmith stretch out the frame and make it longer and put dual transmissions in so they could have 10 speeds, they could outrun any police car that was around. And there was a 300-gallon copper tank built into the frame of the truck, and then they would put all the cases of water on. They knew the revenues were coming, got a wind of it, and so they dynamited the cave closed. The hotel went into foreclosure, and Mr. Cherney, Adolph Cherney, bought it, and he was going to build a retirement home for him and his wife. His wife got cancer and passed away, so he offered the county 78 acres of the park for a nominal amount of money as long as it maintained the name Cherney Maribel Caves County Park. He also offered the hotel to the county at that time. Hindsight's always 20/20. Now that would have been a beautiful, beautiful nature center for the park. Mr. Cherney sold the hotel to Richard Wagner. Richard did a lot of upgrading in the hotel, drilled a new well, put gas furnaces in, redid the electrical. He re-landscaped all the land to be like a bowl situation. And behind this building, he would put up a big stage all summer long, and he'd have bluegrass one weekend, rock one weekend, country music another weekend, and he owned the hotel until about 1979, put it up for sale, and another man bought it. And what I understand is he just didn't have the personality to run a tavern or this kind of business. So he actually filed bankruptcy, and hotel was in foreclosure for about 2 years. The electric lines were removed from it, the gas tanks were gone. The hotel burnt in 1984, and it gutted the whole north end of the building, right up to the stair. Actually, the staircase was partially burnt out. The town of Cooperstown, after the fire, was going to condemn the building and bulldoze it, dig a big hole and bulldoze all the building. And Bob Lyman, he owned Devil's River Camper Park, and he went to the bank and bought the property from the bank and put it on the National Registry of Historic Buildings. Mark Lyman owns the hotel now and this property. Mark has given us permission to walk around the property today.